Hello there everyone, welcome back to the maximum weight challenge. It's been a while since last video. I've just been busy. Last week we had basically a lot of people missing from work, so I ended up working a lot of overtime. In addition to that, we also had the national day, or a national celebration day, last Friday, and well, I was quite busy with that and a bunch of other things, so it's taken me quite a while to get this video finished, but we are finally back here with some maximum weight challenge, and we're going to continue where we left off. And the plan here is very simple. We've kind of settled into 5th here with Alpine, which is kind of where we expect to finish this year, behind both Aston and Mercedes. We're still going to try and fight, of course. We'll see what we can do. But we have kind of reached a point where we are reaching the limits of what we can do with this car because of, well, the fact that we are very, very heavy. So as I mentioned last time, what we're going to be doing with the rest of this session, rest of this video, depending how you want to look at it, we're going to try and finish off this season, probably within the next 2 videos, this and another one. Maybe even in this one, we'll have to see exactly how much I get done and how nice Ocon and gas they're going to be to the car, because if we have interesting situations, they will be shown. But generally today, we're just going to have a research focus and focus on developing the car for next season. That's going to be the main thing. So with that said, 9 races in here. We're about to start at 9th round. 8 races in here. We are 67 points. We're pretty safe in 5th. It is going to be the goal of the season. Let's see what we can do here, as we are jumping into Canada in just 11 days. Before that, though, are we going to have anything to complete? No, basically the front wing, or the suspension for that matter, is going to be finishing here as we go into Canada. We even manufacture a little bit extra there. But yeah. Suspension design. Let us have a look here. Is it anything that we do want to manufacture immediately? It is a top speed design, but it's mainly focused on medium speed, so it's a bit of a weird one altogether. So let's go ahead and do this. We are going to go ahead here and go into the warehouse. We can have a look at the suspension. Put this in, and as you can see, we made this one for top speed. I don't think it's anything that we're going to be using, unfortunately, because we just lose so much cornering with it. But it could be a good thing to have on front end focused, or sorry, not front end, top speed focused tracks rather than front end tracks, which honestly kind of is. But even then, I think we're just going to stick with these for now. Cornering is still going to be king. I think it still is going to be king for at least this game. Now, the next game has been announced on the 3rd of July. Unfortunately, I have not been given part in any pre-release content so far, which of course came as a little bit of disappointment to me. I'll be perfectly honest, but it is what it is. Probably still a little bit too small with just 10k. Most of the, well, basically all the people who have been given early access, so to speak, have had over 100k subscribers, so we just have to keep on that grind. But yeah. Let's get into the research here, and since it's been a while for everyone, let's just have a quick look here and go into the board, and we'll have a look at the rules and regulations and see what gets hit. It's engine cooling and airflow for the most part. So yeah, airflow, brake cooling, nothing too serious here. It should be something that we can manage pretty easily. But yeah, suspension here particularly needs some work. The underfloor, airflow sensitivity is fine, and yeah, basically. Now, there has been a couple of comments that I've seen from all the videos that mention that I probably, disregard the airflow sensitivity a little bit too much. And I can understand that viewpoint, because the way that I do airflow sensitivity is not necessarily a healthy or good way of doing it, because of the way that you do lose a lot of time being stuck behind other cars. And we were going to be seeing that a little bit of that this season, because we made the car a lot slower than it needs to be with the weight. But I still think that the pace is more important, because you need pace to get there to begin with. And if you struggle with overtaking, then maybe, yeah, you might want to up your dirty air tolerance. But if you never get into place to overtake to have a chance to overtake in the first place, then your dirty air tolerance is wasted the other way. So while a healthy balance could be argued for, you need speed in order to get into position to overtake in the first place. That is my viewpoint, so there is that. And we're just going to work on the suspension here. We're probably going to be disregarding this season for the most part, the underfloor and also the rear wing, as the only thing that they have is airflow sensitivity. But we'll be focusing on researching the other parts. We are going to be doing some underfloor and some rear wing as well, but for the time being, the goal is just going to be to mitigate the losses that we're getting from the regulation change. So yeah, with that out of the way, let's just speed along. We are going to jump directly into Canada here. And as I said, we'll have to see exactly how much we get done this this session. We have an email response here. Gasly's morale and aggression has been fixed, and their relationship has been mended. Apparently, we had a bit of a get together between Gasly and his engineer. They made up, the buddies again, which is good. And we also have a design center improvement here, which is actually huge. So we're going to go ahead and approve the budget for that. Get ourselves another couple of extra slots for projects, which is going to allow us to do that little bit of research that I mentioned on the underfloor. And also on the... That is not a research, that is a design. That's me being silly. But yeah, it's going to allow us to put in a little bit of work here on the underfloor. And also on, well, the rear wing. And honestly here, for the underfloor, I am thinking we just do this. We're still going to get a little bit dirty at tolerance back, even though we're not focusing on it. But we are going to get stats on the car, which is more important in my personal view. Rear wing, we're going to be doing the same again. Airflow sensitivity. It is not a huge concern. I would actually dare to say. It's not a huge concern that you need to be very focused on the car. So, that's my personal opinion. Of course, others can have differing opinions. And that's kind of the fun with these games, to design cars differently. But yeah, I don't put a lot of stock in dirty air cornering. So, apologies to those of you who feel that I might be disregarding that a little bit too much. But yeah, focus this on the front wing. Get that research project started. And now we're finally ready to just jump directly into Canada. Let's see how we do. If we don't have any incidents, we'll be just skipping right through it. In Canada here, we have our first event with George Russell, which is potentially going to allow us to score some more points, as he has eaten the wall. We do have a bit of an interesting situation here, as number one, I got a phone call, which led to me not paying attention to fuel, which has put us at dangerously low fuel levels. That is number one. Number two, we have rain, 0.66 millimeters so far, supposed to keep on increasing. And as you can see here, Leclerc has been kind enough to go into the pits and show us that what we should do here is actually jump in and get on Intis. And I do kind of agree with that, and we probably would have done it. But it's always nice to see the AI do it first. And we do have a virtual safety car, so we're going to take advantage of said virtual safety car and double stack. Should still come out ahead of Norris even if we do this. It's just going to suck a little bit because we do have the cars running side by side. But yeah, while we do lose a little bit of time into Norris, we do stay in current positions. And that is the most important thing. Now we are of course going to tune down from aggressive here. We are still going to take care of our fuel. And honestly, this safety car or virtual safety car kind of came in clutch for that. And if we had a full safety car, maybe we would have been able to do something with Hamilton. But as you can see here, everyone else the same tire. We're running 8th and 9th. And I do believe we'll be running 8th and 9th here till the end. Let's see if we maybe have some more incidents that would allow us to score a few extra points. We're getting towards the end here of the Canadian GP. Nothing really happened, and we got the fuel back onto positive. We have tried to attack, but the gap to Hamilton stayed the same, so we had no real chance here of fighting any of the top teams for better placement. 8th and 9th were the best we can do. Norris takes 10th for McLaren and scores 7 point. But 8th and 9th is very much acceptable for our goal here, which is to be 5th in the Constructors. So, yeah, a very, very acceptable, I guess I should say, race for us. That's the best way I can actually describe it. And things are going fairly well. Good enough pit stops. And as I probably also mentioned in an early video, but I just want to reiterate, we are going to be focusing somewhat on the pit crew over the course of this season as well, as we are currently doing a no switching of the car parts of the powertrain. We don't switch these between race and practice unless they hit 20%, basically very, very low. So we'll be kind of running the parts a little bit further into the ground. Since we are just going to do a very slow research season here, I'm comfortable doing it because we should be able to to afford extra engine, gearboxes, ERS that we would need from running the strategy of not running them completely into the ground. We might also do, break them towards the end of the season once we actually, have our placements sorted. But we'll deal with that once we get there. So yeah, as I mentioned, pit crew, sorry, got a little bit distracted with tangent. But we are focusing on developing our pit crew this year. And hopefully, with us not really doing anything to, put extra stress on them, by not switching powertrain components during the weekend, and just allowing them to kind of be destroyed, we should be able here to, as you can see, improve our pit crew considerably. And we are going to keep on doing that and monitoring them. But yeah, I do believe it's going to work out in our favor in the long run. Particularly, again, if you have a season that is kind of throwaway like this, a research season, focusing on your pit crew while not switching components can be very, very valuable. Now, facility-wise, we should still be happy with what we have. We might upgrade some towards the end of the season, but the team hub, the race sim, we already got that to 5. We want to get the team hub to 5 to develop staff. That too would be great. Helipads level 5. But yeah, I think we'll just jump straight into the next race, which is Austria. I don't think we have anything finishing before then. Just maybe the chassis. So yeah, let's see what that chassis looks like. Okay, car inspection results. We also are low on stock. That is probably something that should be sorted immediately. Underfloor, let's go ahead and manufacture a couple more. Unfortunately, if we do it today, we are going to have to emergency manufacture, so let's not do that. That sounds unnecessarily expensive. There we go. Since that part finished, I assume we would have manufacturing capabilities again. We do. Let's make 2 underfloors. Side pods, looking good. Rear wings looking good. Front wings looking good. And chassis are looking good. So it was just the underfloors that we were missing. But yeah, we should also have a new ATR period now that we can actually invest in as our team hub finishes. And we do have enough money here that I'm comfortable upgrading team hub to the highest level. And as I mentioned here, we're going to get a new aerodynamic period as our technical chief here gets himself a bit of an upgrade. ATR starts today. Now, we'll have to think a little bit about what to invest that ATR period into, but I think maybe we'll do suspension or front wing, maybe. We'll see. Dr. Bear's contract is ending. We're probably going to go ahead and, give him a new one. Although we could try and snatch Tondi. He's actually open for negotiations. That would be a terrible upgrade. And he is available, I believe, at the end of this season. So we could try and negotiate for him. And Cadil, too, is actually open for negotiation. So we could actually kidnap the Ferrari staff. We'll have to see how far we get into this season. But I might put it to a vote. And our reserve driver's contract is running out. I think we'll try and find a new talent that we can race for that one. Yeah, let's have a look here. Chassis research has been completed. And immediately what we're going to do here is, of course, start a new chassis research. Focusing on cooling, airflow, maybe a little bit on drag reduction, we'll see. But we're not going to spend safety time. We're going to focus cooling. And I think that is actually going to be about it here. Maybe do it like this, because cooling is getting hit with 30% and airflow is getting hit with 10. And the better cooling we have, the better our car is going to perform next year, because we're not going to be switching our parts. So getting that cooling back does come with its own benefits. But I think we'll do it like this for now. And then if we need to towards the end of the season, we can focus cooling more deeply. But yeah, let's go to Austria here. We have a sprint weekend. We have a race. Let's see if we can snatch ourselves some points. So qualifying for the Austrian GP here has concluded, and as you can see, we don't only have one car in the top 10. And that's because Alpine has pulled off something quite incredible in his Williams. He is 5th. And he has beaten out both Mercs, both Astons, and Ferraris are now quicker than the Red Bulls. This is the weirdest timeline, but yeah, we did qualify 11, so it's not all bad. But yeah, Sargent, the Williams might be a little bit scary now, seeing that Albon got himself up to 5th, so we might need to take a look at this after the race, but for now, let's get on to the sprint. Clean sprinter has concluded, and honestly, the Williams pace might have been a fluke, as Albon ended up falling down to 10th. Unfortunately, Gasly couldn't get in by the end here. As you can see, we were close, couldn't get it done. But we did keep up with the cars in front, and we did actually use a soft tire for the sprint. So we probably have a bit of a tire advantage now going into Saturday, in the sense that we can use mediums, we can use kind of whatever we see fit here. And one stopper is probably going to be just straight up what's best for us, honestly. We could try something a little bit cheekier with, say, a hard. Even if we run it full attack, I don't think it's going to be worth it. But this is pretty quick. So let's see here. It's still just 2 seconds quicker than a one-stopper. We don't have a lot of tire to go on, but neither do we with the one-stopper. We can push a little bit. So I'm going to be a bit boring here. We're going to do a one-stopper. Let's see what we can do here. If we can snatch a couple more points here for our team. So, well, the race here has gone well at Austria. Unfortunately, though, Ocon has had a bit of a smaller incident, locked up, fell a little bit further behind. But the Williams are quick around here, as you can see, with Gasly now struggling to keep hold of Albon. But as the tyres do come back our way here, we should be able to catch him by the end of this. 15 laps to go. We are running 10th and 11th. And most likely here, Ocon is going to end up outside the points. Gasly should still be able to be within the points. The question is just going to be 9th or 10th. No way we're catching Alonso or the Mercs here. It's just not happening. But Albon, on the other hand, is doable. I do believe that. So we're just going to have to try and push. See what we can do. For Gasly here, we do have to kind of take care of our tires. That's even more important here for Albon. So, well, we are losing a little bit of time right now. By the end of this, I think we'll catch him. We are getting increasingly closer to the end here. Gasly is within DRS now of Albon, but Albon does have a back marker ahead of him that could potentially give him some much needed protection here, I guess is the correct word, as Gasly does try and launch an attack there, does get it on the second try. The question is just now, can we stay ahead until the end of this race, as we have used our tires quite aggressively here. Same can kind of be said for Ocon, so we'll slow him down a little bit. But we do actually get away from Albon due to the fact that he ended up struggling a little bit with that back marker, and we got by pretty much for free, as Tsunoda actually does send it a little bit too hard there into that corner. Tsunoda being that same back marker. But yeah, at least we're scoring 9th place here. Unfortunately, as I said, Ocon did have a bit of a lockup that caused some problems. He's now running behind the leaders. No way he's catching anyone at that pace. And Gasly has here created a couple of seconds gap. So by the end of this, he should be alright in 9th. Not a bad result by any means of the imagination. And we will take that. It's, again, very much what we are expecting to do this season. So yeah, 9th for us in a one-stopper. 2-stopper might have been a little bit better, but as you can see, it's 30 seconds. It's a pit stop up to Alonso. So I don't think we could have done anything better here. And again, this is what we're fighting for. 9th and 10th in the Constructors. We could score a little bit high if they have a bunch of bad results, but I don't see that happening. We have to be realistic with our expectations. And this season we are expecting to fight for 9th and 10th, provided that none of the cars ahead of us has an incident. But yeah, the first 2 races here have gone by pretty swiftly, pretty good. We have failed inspection on the front wing, which we'll just replace very simply. Not really a big deal, make a new one. And we'll be heading to Silverstone in just a few days. Our gearbox are hitting a little bit of the damaged part here, but we are going to grind them down to probably the same as this one, 10%. In terms of pit crew, it has ticked over, so we do need to set up new pit crew training, I'm pretty sure. So we'll do that pretty quick. Driver update, smoothness and adaptability for Ocon, for Gasly, cornering and accuracy. So I'm happy with this. I'm a little bit unhappy with the adaptability. Of course, I always am. But otherwise, the drivers are developing nicely. Confidence check-in, they have high confidence. I would hope so. We are doing what you kind of expected us to. But as you can see now, the car is starting to fall behind the other teams as they're developing their car. And we are just focusing on research. It's kind of the natural progression of things. Now, as I said here, we are going to do the pit crew, and we're also going to go ahead and have a quick look at Williams once we get to the next race weekend. I do want to see what they've done to their car, because it did seem to be fairly quick, and of course that is a very interesting kind of thing to see. Now, I'm happy with this kind of pit crew training, 32% on the Grand Prix weekend. That should be fine. Put in a couple of gym days here, put in a couple of car building days. Gonna have to go a little bit more to the gym to maintain our current stop time, which is kind of what we're hoping for. Maintain our current stop time while kind of lowering anything else. I think we'll put in a rest day here. We kind of do need it. And like so. A couple more gym trainings, the last ones of the month probably, as we'll be heading into, as you see, Hungary. And then we are going to need to rest a little bit. We could sneak in probably one of each here. And that's actually going to solve most of the issues, although this is a sprint weekend. So we're going to have a little bit more exhaustion as a result. I think we are still fine, because again, we aren't going to be switching parts a lot. The gearboxes might need to be switched out for Hungary, in which case we can just abolish the training here. But yeah, the chance of mistake goes up, mostly due to the fact that we're going to be tired. The pit-stop time goes up. That's just because we don't really have any time to train. Technically, 4-ish race weekends in a month. That's rough. But yeah, that is what we'll do with our pit crew. And other than that, as I said, I do want to go to the next race weekend here and have a look at Williams, because while Alpine did fall backwards during the sprint, I'm curious exactly how their performance is at the moment. And if we compare ourselves to the Williams, they've developed very, very well. They're second on extra weight. They've gone down to 6.6 kilograms. I think this is probably one of the lightest cars I've seen the AI build. That's actually quite amazing. 7th, 9th, 7th. They've actually gone with a bit of a cornering focus here. Okay. I can dig it. I can dig what the Williams team are doing. Could see Albin with some surprise performances here. This is looking very, very good. But yeah, let's go to Great Britain. See if we can keep our streak of finishing in the points going. So the British GP here is yet another curveball, in the sense that we're going to have ever so little rain here. Starting lap 15, ending around lap 45. We're going to have a, what I assume would be inter. Just full inter stint here over the course of about 30 laps. And we'll have to see how we adapt to that, and potentially that could give us a chance to score some points. Now, in terms of quality, we qualified 11th and 8th. Nothing too, perfect, but it's still acceptable. It is within our goal, which is again 5th. And as you can see, we're still using kind of damaged parts, so we're going to keep on doing this little bit of an experiment. Now, in terms of strategy here, we do know that the first stint here, we should start seeing rain around lap 15, 16. So we could go with a soft tire that we run, say, light, attack a little bit more towards the end. I don't think that would be a terrible idea. Then we'll go over to inters for probably, as mentioned, good 45 laps. Can just about make it do here with just one set of inters, which is interesting. And then we are going to go to basically full attack on the last stint. And unfortunately, I did end up using all the soft tires. So what I think we're going to do here is that we start on the mediums, run them a bit aggressively, probably standard to start off with, then we turn them aggressive as we get towards the end of the stint. And then we use our fresh softs to try and get something done towards the end of the race when it starts drying up. That's going to be the strategy for this place. Of course, our weather center is absolutely nothing to write home about. So we could be misinterpreting the weather. That is a very common occurrence. Maybe we actually should focus on upgrading the weather center this time around. We'll see. But this is a general idea on how we're going to be playing this race, and I think that is a alright way to do it. We'll run aggressive here for the first couple laps, see if we can get Gasly up a position or two, and of course see if we can have Ocon keep hold on his position. But the rain race is always interesting. We get a little bit more changing of the tires, and if we pit at the right time, we might be able to gain a little bit on the cars around us. So we'll see how this goes. Now, in terms of the AI's options here, there is they're pretty varied. Let's just put it like that. There's a lot of medium runners, there's a lot of soft runners, No one is running hard tires at least, so we know that the rain should come early enough that hard tires are just not on the table. And Ocon currently is fighting Russell, but unsurprisingly, we do kind of lose out to the Merc. It's not really that big of a surprise. It's kind of what we are used to. But yeah, we'll have to see what we can do here with these tires now. And hopefully, as I said, I do think that we can make a bit of a comeback here. Maybe score a little bit higher than what we usually do. But yeah, for now, we'll just settle in. We'll manage our tires. We'll keep an eye on the weather. And if we do see that the rain is going to arrive around lap 15, we might run these tires a little bit more aggressively. But for now, I'm happy with keeping things as is. So we're going to lap 11. As you can see, we also have some of the soft runners starting to pit, which is not too surprising. We might see the same in from Norris and Albon. We're currently running 11th and 12th, but we have started the process of attacking, trying to get a little bit further back into, well, what could be called a good position. Now, the rain here is still moving further away on lap 17 at the moment, but it should be close enough now that I think running attack for these next 5-6 laps is viable before we do go onto into tires, and it should allow both Gasly and Ocon to overtake Norris and Albon, and thus getting, well, hopefully out of the pits by the time we've done switching to inters in the last 2 point scoring positions. Ocon launches attack there, pretty straightforward, and we should be seeing Gasly doing the same. But yeah, the goal here is 9th to 10th. Unfortunately, everyone ahead of us is a little bit too quick for us. 11 seconds is the gap right now up to the Mercs. We've unfortunately had a bit of an incident here with Gasly. He's had a bit of a lockup in turn 16 as he overtook the Williams. Luckily, no damage as he was side by side, but he did lose a lot of tire, down to 44 versus 52, and that is of course going to have an effect on our race here as we lost 5 seconds to Albon from the lockup itself, and the rain here is still a couple laps away, so we'll turn him down to aggressive just so we don't completely burn out his tires, and we have gotten to a level now of fuel where I think we can turn down the fuel usage slightly. The yellow blinking here is just for the gearbox, no real damage to any components, but we did wear our tires in that lockup, unfortunately.
Now in the pit lane.
Rain is starting, and as you could maybe see up there, Hamilton's had a bit of a spin, which has put him basically right next to us. So we might actually, by the time the rain gets to a level where we need to pit, be ahead of the Mercedes, and that would be kind of huge for us. But with the way that the rain levels are going up here, we're probably going to need at least one more lap before we pit. It's just not going up quick enough. And as I mentioned here, I think what we're going to do is just go onto the inters. It shouldn't really get wet enough that going to the wet tires will be worth it. So I'm thinking what we do here now is actually just pit both cars for inters at the end of this lap. And as you see, Gasly did make it basically till the end here by taking a little bit better care of his tires. He has caught up a little bit to Albon, but still we are behind. And Ocon now is actually going to pit ahead of Hamilton, and the question now is, can we beat the Mercedes pit crew and get out ahead of him? That would be huge if we can. So let's see what we end up doing here, as that is a pretty smooth stop. Unfortunately, we did get held up there a little bit by the McLaren, so Hamilton does get his position back. But honestly, if it wasn't for that, we actually might have gotten our position back then. Gasly even managed to jump Albon, who had a bit of a pit stop issue. So all in all, not the worst pit stop we've ever had. We can be happy with that. But yeah, just a little bit of a shame there with Hamilton, because if we actually came out ahead of him, we probably would have been able to keep him behind. That could have been huge. But still, we are on inters now. It has gotten wet, and we are going to have to take care of these inters a bit here, because as you can see, we're still expecting about 25 or so laps on these tires. So we'll just run them kind of carefully, maintain for the most part, and then probably attack towards the end of the stint. So as we're getting close here now till the end of the race, we still have 2 millimeters of damp weather, but as you can see, Albon has pitted. We also have seen Alonso pit. So the question now becomes, is it going to be worth it to pit for another set of inters? And judging by this, it most likely is. It might very well be that we do do not go dries at all before the end of this. So what I am thinking is that we just go full attack. We are going to do what the others are doing. We have gaps here to work with, particularly in Ocon's case. But for Gasly, if we want to beat Albon, we're probably going to have to pit onto fresher tires as well. Unless we do get a dry period. But as you see, the gap from the dry period is just 2 laps at the moment. So I don't feel that being very reliable. So we're going to go ahead and push with both Gasly and Ocon. We're going to get them onto a pair of fresh tires and then work from there. And the question now is going to be, can we jump 2 seconds on Albon, who's now being held up a little bit by Hülkenberg on all the tires? Potentially, maybe we stretch Gasly's pit stop by 1 more lap due to the fact that, as mentioned, Albon is currently being held up by Hülkenberg. And if we take a look at the expected pit stop times here, it's about 22 seconds. We currently have 17 seconds on Albon, but I would assume that Gasly is going to be quite a lot quicker than Hülkenberg at the moment. So if Hülkenberg holds up Albon, we are going to go ahead here and just say we're going to pit next lap instead. Unfortunately, though, it does look like Albon is going to get the overtake done. Just about. So, yeah, it might just be the best to just get him in on this lap. If we aren't too late. We'll see, though. I think we were just too late there to give the order. And that is what it is. But it's okay. It happens. For Ocon, he should be able to run full attack in now till the end, and hopefully we'll be able to catch back up to Hamilton, Norris. 12 laps, 6 seconds. Well, a lot more actually. But we'll see what we can do here. It's a bit of a brave strategy, and it's also reliant on us not going onto a soft tire at the end. And as you can see, Albon does come out ahead of Gasly, but we'll just have to try and make the best that we can out of this strategy. So Ocon now, gonna speed up a little bit. I'm curious what the time difference is between Ocon and the cars ahead. And he's gaining about 1.5 seconds a lap, but temperatures could become a bit of an issue here. So potentially this could backfire horrendously. We'll see though. But I think as I said, it might have been our best option. But if we're going back to dry tires, it's not gonna be good. But yeah, we'll push and we'll see what we can do. So unfortunately, it does seem that we did indeed get a little bit of a bamboozle going against us here as Tsunoda spins, but it is gonna not really fully dry out here, so we're just gonna have to go full attack till the end with just a few laps to go here and see if we can get an overtake done on track. But honestly, it probably would have been just as efficient to just stay where we were. But yeah, the track is not going to dry up enough for us to get dry tires. And we're just going to have to try here now with Ocon to see if we can get a move done on Norris, who at this stage basically has identical tires to us. So yeah, pushing didn't really pay off, let's be honest. But we do have some cars here that are running low. Russell in particular could, with a drying track, potentially end up in puncture territory if he's really unlucky. But at the current stage, we might lose out a little bit here to McLaren, as we have been pushing a little bit too hard. The only thing we can hope for is really just DRS, which I don't think we
DRS disabled.
are going to get enough from anyways. So, bit of a shame then, the strategy, to be fair. We did push a little bit harder than what we probably should have, I'll be honest. And Russell here has actually elected to pit because he kind of doesn't have a choice, so yeah. No lucky puncture there for us. And Ocon now, on the final lap, is going to have to just try everything he can. He is in puncture territory himself, though, which is kind of dangerous.
No more DRS.
So maybe we'll just have to put him standard and be happy with 10th place here. Gasly, on the other hand, still has a little bit more he can push with, but yeah, it probably would have been better for us to just stay out and keep the tires as they were. Ocon having a little bit of a battle here that I'm missing. He is. But Norris had more grip out of that corner and does snatch at 9th ahead of us. So yeah, we did probably burn the tires a little bit too aggressively. Honestly, we probably should run aggressive instead of full attack. But even then, it is what it is. Rain races are interesting. And in this one, got it wrong. But yeah, we got close to 9th at least, which again is acceptable, but not really great. And Gasly is, unfortunately for us, outside of the points. Now, this doesn't really change anything. Again, McLaren scoring a couple points has no bearing on our team, so the reality of the situation is this doesn't affect us, and we'll be happy with that. Unfortunately, though, we didn't get both cars into Q3, which does affect our finances, but that should still be fine. And the full manufacture complete, Ocon improves his performance, which is huge, as we get a sidepod research completion. And we also have a regulation vote here for spawning changes. And the thing is here, we are going to vote against this proposed regulation, because again, got a little bit confused there. I thought these were two different things. But basically here, this regulation is give more safety development time, safety and wind tunnel to the top teams, and we don't want that. We're going to finish fifth most likely, which means this has no effect on us. But if the top teams get more safety time, it's going to be a little bit harder to catch. So let's not mess around with that. Front wing has failed. The gearboxes here are getting very low. We might want to consider changing them. And for our research benefit here, we get some cooling, we get some airflow middle, and we get a little bit of drag reduction upgrade. And I think we're just going to do another side pod upgrade immediately. Safety time, probably not well spent on the side pods, but honestly, wouldn't be the worst thing to invest in, seeing that it does get hit with a regulation change. But yeah, it's just the airflow middle here that is the main concern. Getting that engine cooling back up is of course going to be very, very good. But at the same time, I think we can sort this by just doing it in this manner. So we're not going to use safety time on the side pods yet. Probably going to use it on the underfloor or the wings first, as well as suspension. Would be my best guess. We're going to also replace that front wing. We're going to go ahead and manufacture a new one. Because, well, we kind of wanted to stay on top of it. And for the powertrain components here, the gearbox in particular, we're probably going to use it for Hungary as well before we switch it out. I think that would be fine. Again, we are doing this kind of a financial move as well. But we are stable in fifth, and that's kind of where we want to be. So let's see how we do in Hungary. The regulation change that we had got voted down, which is what we wanted. No more extra safety time for the top teams. And we're also going to get our suspension research completed here. And as I mentioned, we might go ahead and use safety time on it. It's again just airflow and the cooling for the most part. But honestly, the the suspension is a huge source of low speed and also medium speed cornering ability. So I think what we do here is actually invest this first safety period that we have on research, well, at least this safety period for research on the suspension, just boost it a little bit going into next year. And because we're focusing on the cornering aspects, we're going to do it like this. Low speed, medium speed, we're going to get brake cooling in, we're going to get airflow front in. That's going to give us a pretty sizable upgrade here in low and medium speed cornering ability for next season, as well as 6.5% of brake cooling. So honestly, I'm very happy with this. We could also sacrifice a little bit of that cornering gain for a little bit of top speed, but it's very minor, so we're going to go ahead and do it like this. And I'll just have to try and remember to use the other safety periods on the front wing, the rear wing, and we might do side pods. We'll have to see. I do kind of want to do underfloor too, but we'll have to see what we can actually do. Rear wing, front wing is probably the better option. Yeah, Hungary's up now. Let's see how we do. So for us here, Hungary was a huge disappointment. 13th and 15th, both of our drivers losing 5 places. Basically, this was mainly a strategic error for the most part, but it did allow Albon and Magnussen and Williamson Haas to score a few points. But yeah, basically, strategy didn't work. We went with a hard, medium, and soft strategy. We really should have stayed as far away from the Haas as we could. But yeah, it did not work out in our favor. And as you can see here, 1-2 once again from the Red Bulls, but the Astons also did fairly well. Now, we have one race remaining before we go into the summer break. And as you can see there, we did fail one of our sponsor goals, or basically all of them. But basically the big one, which was one car in the top 10 every race. We failed that one. It's expensive to fail that one. But yeah, we're about to head into the summer break here. We only have Belgium left. But one of the other reasons why we did have terrible pace is because we're still using the old gearbox. And we're definitely going to be switching that out going into the next race weekend, as we now have a few things on the car that needs replacement. The side pods and also the rear wing. And since this one is going to need to be swapped out pretty soon, we're just going to go ahead and manufacture 2 new ones. There's nothing really big behind it. It's just the easiest way to get that done. And as I said, for Belgium here, we are going to be replacing the gearbox. But yeah, the fact that we ran a pretty weak gearbox probably did have an effect on it. And also we did go for the extra payout here from sponsor guarantees. We failed. Extra expensive to do that. So yeah, probably not the best time to gamble with the sponsors when your car is kind of falling apart. But with that said, Belgium is up here now in just 4 days. We're going to have a couple of researches done though before that, which is the underfloor and the rear wing. And we are going to be starting new researches immediately so that we do not lose out on our bonus. So rear wing here gets a little bit of DRS delta, a little bit of drag reduction for the most part. We also get some cornering. And that's generally what we're going to continue kind of focusing on. The airflow sensitivity, again, isn't something that I view as incredibly valuable. It might change after next season, because I think we'll still have a car that isn't super competitive, but we'll see what we can do. Now, in terms of the cornering focus here that we might want to do on the rear wing, we might want to invest a little bit in cornering and later researches, but for now, we're going to do at least one more where we just focus on drag reduction and DRS. And then maybe we'll incorporate a little bit of cornering focus after that. Now, for the underfloor here, we're going to go ahead and do what we usually do, which is just focus cornering for the most part. Again, here, we're going to ignore the dirty air, because we kind of can. And I do think we're going to do drag reduction as well. We're going to keep drag reduction up here on the underfloor, and we might invest into, say, low and medium speed cornering later on, as they're kind of slightly behind both drag reduction and the high speed here. But for now, it is okay to just do it like this. And over the course of this race weekend, we're going to get the chance and front wing research completed as well. I don't remember exactly how many days we have left of the event, but if we're unlucky, that event might actually end by the time this race weekend is done, which would be pretty bad. Now, just to make sure that we don't have another incident like the last one, we're going to be very conservative here with our finish position streak. Both cars in top, well, one car top 15. And we're going to say that we can have one car in top 10 here, as well as both cars in Q2 and one car in Q3. So being a little bit careful with it. Financially, though, we aren't really in a bad situation, but I would love to get a couple of upgrades going here, like the like a design center upgrade, but for the most part, suspension sim, car part test center would be great. But for now, we have gotten the team hub, the race sim upgraded. The helipad looks good. I don't think we're going to need anything else here in the operations. So yeah, I think we're just going to save up money, and once we get close to the end of the season, we might go ahead and upgrade both the suspension sim and the car part test center for next year, potentially. Finances are going to be a huge part on basically what decision we end up doing there. But for now, we're going to jump into Belgium, which is the sprint weekend. Let's see if we embarrass ourselves there, as we did in Hungary. So we're currently doing the first race in, well, the sprint, actually, in Belgium. And as you can see, Gas is running 10th, Ocon is running 12th. And then we have Sainz down in 14th. He pulled a bit of a spin at the start of this, and that has gotten us into a position where we might actually score points during a sprint. But it's going to require Gasly here to catch up to Norris and Albon and get the overtake done within the next 3 laps, as we are now pushing full attack here till the end of this the sprint here for both of our cars, in order to try and improve our position for Saturday. Quali did go fairly well, but Ocon had a little bit of mishap, ended up 13th. Gasly qualified 8th, so hopefully we can do a little bit of a comeback here. But yeah, the other cars are also quick around us. Gasly will have to contend with Norris, and as you can see, confidence isn't the highest. So hopefully we can get this move done fairly quick. We do have a lot of energy for both cars here, probably enough that we can push till the end. Belgium generally does not really require that much energy, or not too much energy gets used per lap. You'll usually be able to harvest full even while deploying. So energy wise we should be fine, and tire wise we're kind of equal with the cars around us. So Hopefully attack will be enough to get the move done here. But as you can see, we're kind of struggling a little bit. Have to see now if Gasly can get it done on the straight, and then if it can close down those 2.5 seconds that Albon has ahead of us. But yeah, our top speed just is not good enough there to get the move done, unfortunately. So most likely we're going to end up 10th and 12th before the race. But Belgium is one of those places where you can do a little bit of a comeback. Gasly had a little bit of a situation, yeah, I would assume, considering that we lost 2 seconds to Norris. But it seems like, as mentioned, 10th and 12th is going to be the result for the sprint. And while not great, it's still acceptable. We're still not in a bad position points-wise, so we'll take that. Sainz is going to be a little bit of a danger starting behind Ocon. So that's gonna immediately hurt our confidence a little bit for our boys, which is gonna probably have a bit of an effect on the race pace. Now for Sunday, which is what we'll have a look at in just a second, I think we're gonna try a fairly aggressive plan here. We're not gonna see any sort of rain. So what I am thinking is that we start on the medium tire, actually. We burn it down completely. And then we go over onto a soft tire. And potentially here, this could be fairly quick. What I am thinking is that we do basically a soft tire on full attack. Then we go onto another soft tire on probably aggressive, might be better. We do something like this, which is going to be fairly quick compared to the base strategies. And because we're running very aggressively, we should be able to get some overtakes done. And just because I'm kind of curious here, we're going to put the two cars in a bit of a different strategy. We're going to have a thing here with burning down the softs immediately is actually kind of terrible. So we're going to have him run aggressive. First stint on softs, do the opposite there with the medium, and hopefully that'll work out in his advantage. We'll see though. But yeah, hopefully we can have a good result here. Let's jump into the race and see how where we end up. So we have a safety car just as we, drive past the pit lane, which is a bit of a problem. As we have Russell here, as well as the Aston Martin locking up, hitting him in the back.
Come on, really?
And that might give us a good chance to score some points, but we've actually been struggling to keep up with the cars ahead, as you can kind of see here. And again, the timing is rather unfortunate, is the best way I can describe our current situation. But we are going to be double stacking here. There's just no way around it, as we are now driving across everyone. And Magnussen,
keeping temperature in these
yeah,
tires.
the Haas here actually benefited tremendously because Magnussen could not pit, Hülkenberg could. And we'll have to see here exactly where we end up coming out after this sequence. Potentially here, we can hope for any pit stop problems for the cars ahead of us. But we could also have pit stop troubles ourselves. So we'll have to wait and see here. Ocon comes in. We have Gasly basically inside of him. So this is going to hurt Gasly tremendously. Luckily enough, Ocon, no pit stop issue. Neither did Gasly. But he does drop down to 12th, Ocon 9th, so we do get a little bit of benefit from, pitting early, or rather the pit stops here. But Gasly being this far back could definitely hurt us in the long term. We'll have to see if we can make a little bit of a comeback here, and potentially, because Deg is less than expected, we might be able to run that final soft stint on full attack, and that might also be the case if we're Ocon, so we'll have to see how this restart actually develops. But yeah, that safety car does make things a little bit interesting here. It did kind of hurt us a little bit here with Gasly falling further behind, but it did for sure benefit Ocon. So all in all, not the worst here, and we'll have to see now if we can take advantage and maybe get a 7th and 8th place here. Safety car is entering the pits. Let's see what we can do in terms of getting a good restart. We're going to deploy. We're going to push fuel. And for Ocon here, I think we can actually run a little bit of attack here. Try and get something done during this stint. As Norris and Albin are on medium and hard tires, I think they're actually planning to not pit again. So for Ocon's sake, we need to clear both Albon and Norris and create a little bit of a gap ahead of them. And that's going to be a little bit of a challenge here, I think. But that is the only way that we're going to be able to really take advantage.
The car went off.
As another car has gone off, Magnussen has crashed. That should just be him, however. And he's just skidded into the wall a little bit. I think he isn't out, we'll have to see. I think he should still be able to drive, and he can. Just damage to the front wing, as we now have a virtual safety car, as Ocon has decided to introduce himself to the wall.
All okay?
That's very unfortunate, and considering that this is the race weekend where we switch to gearbox, I'm getting flashbacks to a different Alpine series, but yeah, that's a bit unfortunate. We'll have to see exactly what happened there.
And now we've had a crash.
What happened for poor old Ocon?
This, I think, was at turn 13.
Assume he goes into a, yep.
And makes contact with the wall.
Ray loses it, he just slides into the wall, and that is us being handed a very, very expensive repair bill.
Virtual safety car, virtual safety car.
So Gasly's now going to have a little bit of a challenge ahead of him. Has 7th place up for grabs. Let's see if we maybe, just maybe, can get him up there and steal that last, well, not really last, but that higher point scoring position. I think we're still safe, but it would be nice to get it. So we have just pitted Gasly onto a soft tyre that he will be on until the end of this. A lap too late, unfortunately. But we'll have to see what we can do if we can catch Sargent, who is a good 19, 18 seconds ahead. Now keep in mind, these tyres should be 1.8, 1.9 seconds quicker, just purely from being fresh soft tyres. But we want to see here what we can do, as Sargent is doing 46.1s. Same can be said for his compatriot Albon. Norris is a little bit quicker, but as long as we can do, say, 44s here, I think we do have a bit of a hope. And we're doing 43.6s, so we're currently running almost 3 seconds a lap quicker than Sargent. And if we can clear cars relatively quick here, we do still stand a bit of a chance at scoring some pretty good points here. But Norris is in the way, Albon's in the way, and then of course Sargent himself. And we're still running 43s, but they've sped up now, they're running 45s. And that is potentially a little bit too quick for us. But we'll do the best that we can here to score the last couple of, well, some extra points. So we now do actually just straight up drive past Norris in a pretty relaxed and good manner. But yeah, 8 seconds, 4 laps. Can we catch up to Albon? And we have already caught up to him. We are not yet on lap 43. We're about to start lap 43. And it looks like we're going to get Albon here pretty painlessly. If not now, then on the main, or not really the main straight, but the big straight. And we might actually get him before we get into the DRS zone, but he did block us off there. We should be close enough here that just kind of sailing past him should be easy. But clearly I was wrong. So we're going to give him a little bit of higher overtake aggression here, because we need to get by immediately if we want any chance of capturing or catching Sargent. So looks unfortunately like Albon has done the job here in holding us up. Enough for his teammate, but he's actually catching his teammate pretty rapidly here as a result. But yeah, final lap, I think we just have spent a little bit too much time. Basically a lap longer than what we wanted here, sitting behind Albon. So we'll see now what we can do with Gasly. He should maybe get him into the first corner here. Couldn't really get it done. And we'll have to see now if we're still going to struggle with top speed against the Williams. It has been one of the aches, if you will, that we've had, that we just don't have enough top speed to catch them. And it does seem to be, again, just the curse that we have, as Albon is running 38 here now on his hards. Sargent is running his tires down. So yeah, if it was for the fact that we were stuck behind Albon here, we would have caught Sargent as well, I can say with relative certainty. As the Ferrari does win, Alonso gets the 2nd place here. We do launch a little bit of an attack here towards the end, at least looking for it. Depends on if we can get it done into the last couple of corners. Not really, and unfortunately that is us finishing 9th, but It was an honorable attempt. Maybe if I pitted a lap
So,
earlier
check
like
it
I
back.
intended, it would have been good. If
Yeah,
Ocon
this
hadn't
way.
crashed, it would also have been really, really good. But that is racing sometimes for you. It just doesn't go your way. But yeah, 10 points there for Williams. It's actually kind of bad for us, honestly, because it allows them to go up to 16. And if they do this a couple more times, we might be in danger. But yeah, I think we're still fine. But it does give us a little bit of a concern, ever so slight one. Gasly gets himself a little bit of bonus. We complete all our performance targets, getting ourselves a good payout. With that, now we are about to enter the summer break, as we do get some manufacturing and research done. And our mid-season board review, target position is 5th. We're currently on target, and long-term objective is to win the Constructors' Championship before 26, and that I do believe that we are going to be able to complete. Now, the chassis research, as you can see, we have no design or research slots available, as the design center improvement did wear off this weekend, unfortunately, meaning that we weren't able to slap in another chassis research, which is a little bit unfortunate, but we did get a little bit of cooling, drag reduction, and airflow going, which is always nice to see. And in terms of car inspection here, I think next race we are going to be switching out the engines. I think we just have to. They're getting very low. But also we do have both chassis destroyed. Well, one destroyed, one failed. And that is a little bit of a problem. So let's have a look here, install on both cars, and then manufacture a couple of new ones. It is luckily the summer break, so honestly, any damage to the cars isn't actually a big problem. We can just manufacture new items. So all in all, nothing too terrible. We're already making the side pod. The underfloor is fine. The suspension, I think we'll still stick with the old one here. And with that, we're basically up to snuff again on parts, so no big deal. But yeah, as I said, I think next race weekend we are going to be switching out the engine, as once it hits about 26-25%, it's like 25, we're going to see it go into orange territory, and then we'll just use the final one. And of course, this does mean that we might need new engines for the last couple of races, but honestly, we'll take a look at that when we get there. If our position is more or less secure, we're just going to use those old broken engines for the last couple of races. But yeah, next round is in Netherlands in 14 days. We have basically, sorry, not 14 days, 25 days. We have the sidepod research in 14 days, and that's the only research we'll be finishing before we get to Zandvoort. So let's speed along till we get there. We're also going to have to set up a new pit crew training, which is going to be today, as we get a monthly update. And yeah, our car development here is basically saying that we are falling behind our competitors, which is kind of what you expect when you aren't actually developing your car, but developing next season's car. Now for Ocon here, it's actually a good growth, 2 points of cornering, a point of braking there for Gasly. We can be very, very happy with that, honestly. And in terms of our pit crew here, what are we actually looking at? We're currently tied. We're going to allow them to rest a little bit into summer break before we go back into, well, working on all of our stats. And as I said here, goal is going to be to keep the pit stop time and car building where it is. And then we will be working on just getting that error chance down ever so slightly. So I'll get this set up real quick, and then I'll give you a summary. So here we are with the current pit crew schedule, which is going to allow us to get a couple of rest days in. We're going to get well rested before Zandvoort. And generally here, we're going to be getting 1.5% gain in the chance of making errors, or rather lessen. We're going to keep the pit of times and car building where it is. And what we probably could do here is go ahead and change the pit stop drill focus a little bit to lessen the chance even more. As you can see, some things cause more, well, have a higher chance of causing errors, in particular the wheel gun. So for this one, we're going to put a little bit of extra effort into the wheel gun training. So that should help us out long term. But yeah, over the course of this month, we're not going to really be losing anything in terms of car building. We're going to gain ever so slightly in terms of pit stop time. And we're going to be dropping almost 2% in the chance of making an error. So honestly, I'm very happy with this. And we're going to go ahead and confirm that training. But with that said, 14 days, we're going to have a research project complete. Then we are going to head into the next race. And as I said, at this point, with 10 races or so remaining, the main goal here now is just going to be to hold on to 5th place while we do some research for next year's car. as I don't see any way that we're going to be making the current year's car competitive. We're going to say no thank you to the board because they already love us, and a freak bad result could hurt us more than it could help us, so we're going to just say nah, we're good. Sidepole research complete, which gives us airflow front, middle, and cooling for the main part. Sorry, drag reduction, cooling, and airflow middle for the main part. We'll take that. I'm actually going to just start another one immediately. And we should actually probably start a front wing project, because we want to, as I said, take the underfloor project that we have and put it onto either sidepole or chassis. Because, well, we need to focus on the items that have airflow, which means that we're going to ignore having an underfloor, as the only thing the regulation change actually affects on them is the dirty air sensitivity. But yeah, we're going to do front wing. It takes longer, needs more love than the other parts basically, so that is why we're doing that. And we could do here something like this, which would still give us a decent chunk of low and medium speed progression, but also get that brake cooling up. I think what we do here is actually this instead. Maybe this. Yeah, I think this is fine. So we'll just do it like this. But yeah, with that said, let's just jump directly into Dutch Grand Prix, which is going to be our next event. So the Zandvoort qualifying did come with a couple of surprises. That we qualified 6th with Gasly, 10th with Ocon, and also the fact there is a lot of penalties at play. As you can see, there's 4 penalties at play here: Verstappen, Sainz, Russell, and Stroll, which has actually gone ahead and promoted us to 3rd and 6th in terms of where we're starting. We also gone ahead here, as you can see, and switched our engines out for new ones for both cars, which we kind of had to do. But this does put us in a bit of a, let's say, interesting situation in terms of strategy. And what I think we do here is just do something a little bit potentially boring, as the tires that we have been fairly used. I think what we do here is maybe use the hard tire as one of our tires, and potentially I'm considering to using it as our starting tire. But let's see what we can do here. If we can figure out a decent enough strategy. As you can see, the hard tire isn't really that much quicker than the base strategies, and running another soft tire might actually be, or rather a used soft tire might actually be more beneficial than running the hard tire on full attack, although it does give us a little bit more of leeway, if you will. So I think we might do this. We start on a light soft stint, because let's face it, we are going to be losing our positions to the cars around us, and then we try and make back some of those positions with a, well, aggressive, let's just say, hard stint at the end. And if Dega isn't high, we might be able to switch things around. But honestly, I think this is the best option that we have. It is a huge chance for us to actually score some really, really good points here. As we are starting further up the grid, we might be able to get towed by other cars. So while running the softs here on light might be detrimental for that, I think it's still a good choice. So let's see how this goes. We're going to jump into the race here. Let's see if we can convert a 3rd and 6th starting place into some good points for the team. So we got 20 laps into the race and things are still looking good, but as you can see here, Alonso with 20 seconds up to Paris and Leclerc, we have basically held up the entire grid in order to put ourselves in a potentially better position. But basically, within 10 seconds behind us, we have virtually everyone, and that does kind of negatively affect everyone because, well, we're holding them up. And as you can see now, Hamilton and also Hülkenberg is pitting. So the question then is now, do we actually just pit and mirror them, or do we just stick to our own strategy here? As again, we're kind of holding everyone up, and that is the reason why we've been able to hold on to 4th and 5th as long as we have. But I think, unfortunately here, we have to just stick to what we are doing. We're going to have to push. We're going to probably lose a couple of positions over the course of the pit stop because we're doing this. But I genuinely don't see any better way for us to gain positions here and maybe hold on to 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. You get the idea, score a couple of extra points, because we aren't going to get anyone that we can DRS pull us. If
Focus on those
we,
temps.
when we do pit,
Okay.
we are going to be losing positions to probably faster cars behind. As if we take a quick look here, we're doing 17 ones. Norris is doing 15.8s, Hulkenberg doing 15.9s, Sainz 14.5s, Hamilton as well. So we are most likely going to end up on the losing side now once we do finish these pit stops, but it will be more realistic to where we probably should be, and it's still going to be okay, I think, in the long term. That's gonna be the hope here. We should be able to get some of this time that we lost now back towards the end of the race, and that's literally gonna be the big hope here as Gasly now gets overtaken by Verstappen, and if he can stay with Verstappen, we're still not necessarily in a bad spot, as Ocon actually comes out here in a position where he can potentially cause a little bit of problems for the rest of the grid here by hooking onto Sainz. Doesn't really seem like he's going to pull that off though, and Gasly did get left immediately as well, so we're going to pit here and just get rid of these worst tires. But as you can see, Alonso, Verstappen, Magnussen, a lot of other cars around us do still need to pit, and that is going to kind of help us out a little bit here. But yeah, Magnussen, we are going to jump him once he pits. Verstappen, probably not, as he's already a lot quicker than us. But after this first pit stop, it's not looking too terrible, even though De Vries is kind of holding up Ocon a little bit. But yeah, we're going to have to try and clear him immediately if we want to have a good result here. So things have gone fairly alright. We're currently running 7th and 8th, but we're going to have to deal with some of the cars pitting. Hulkenberg has pitted. Everyone behind him too has already pitted. Stroll's the only one that hasn't, and he's right behind us. So as you can imagine here, we're gonna probably lose out a couple of positions once we do finally pit. The top 3 here is not any concern for us. So most likely here we are gonna end up fighting for the last 2 point scoring positions, even though we qualified amazingly well. And the big question here is going to be, can we actually catch up to Hulkenberg again by going for a hard tyre? Unfortunately, something qualifying to save a little bit of time might not be the best option for me going forwards, and particularly for this race weekend, I probably should have done it manually. But Ocon does come out here in 10th, ahead of Stroll, but behind Hamilton, and more importantly, behind Hulkenberg, as we are now going to get Gasly into the pits, and well, catching Hulkenberg here is going to be a little bit of a challenge, and particularly for Ocon too, as Stroll gets the overtake done. But Ocon, if you can stay with him, it's not necessarily a bad thing. And we now are going to have a little bit of a hunt on our hands for the last 16 laps here. Hulkenberg running 68% one mediums. We're going to run full attack hards. And Hamilton and Stroll should both be able to eat him up by the end of this, unless Hulkenberg somehow managed to stick with Russell, but we'll see. So here we are. We're getting towards the end here, 6 laps to go, and Ocon has caught Hulkenberg. Question now is, can we get by, as we still have a little bit of a tire advantage. But yeah, definitely having an extra set of softs there would have probably helped out tremendously. But even then, the best I think we could have fought for here is maybe 7th alongside Hamilton and Stroll. So nothing too big, no incidents. Also did keep us a little bit on the safe side here. But Gasly might not actually be given the opportunity to try and attack Hulkenberg. We are going to need Ocon here to get by quickly, and then create a bit of a gap so that Gasly will have an opportunity to hunt him down himself. But yeah, top speed currently a little bit of a problem that we are suffering with. There's no way around it. We are struggling with getting overtakes done, but that's also due to the fact that their cars are getting more and more developed. But we'll see here if Ocon can get him before the end. I think we will. The question then is going to become, of course, we have a little bit of a Perez there, being a troublemaker and actually eating, I think, all of the energy there that we were intending to use to get the overtake done. But that's generally my fault for not paying attention. But yeah, we're probably going to be able to recharge and try once more before the end of this race. Let's see if we can get the Haas by the end of it. So Ocon here did actually manage to get Hulkenberg into the final corner. And not only that, but he had DRS as well. So, beautifully enough now, he has created more than a second of a gap there. The question now becomes a very, very simple one. Can Gasly do the same thing before the end of this race, as we generally just this is our final lap because of the fact that we're a lap behind. So this is actually Gasly's last chance to pull it off, and he kind of does, although I forgot to put him on push. So we did manage to get Hulkenberg by the end, but still, would have been beautiful if we could have gotten Hamilton too. We aren't actually that far behind, so bit of a shame, but we did put in all the effort that we had. So I think we can be happy with this race, even if we did finish 9th and 10th from a 3rd and 6th start. We did hold off the rest of the grid a lot, but even then, Verstappen did manage to get up into 3rd. So yeah, bit disappointing, but we'll take it. If I'd done the quality manually, probably would have gone a lot better. With that said, though, this is again just the results that we're looking for, and we'll speed along until the next race, which I believe is Imola. I think I might be mistaken, but we'll see. We might also need to readjust our pit crew here a little bit, since we did change out some parts. I do believe we have an underfloor failure, and we'll go ahead and manufacture a new one immediately. But yeah, I think that is it. Board attendance. Yeah, we should still be fine. But yeah, we'll check the pit crew quickly. And this is again the safety usage on the suspension, which had a huge effect here, as you can see on our downforce. So I'm very, very happy with that. I think we are going to do a little bit more research on the suspension here, particularly the cornering aspects of it, like so. And I think after this we might pivot a little bit and focus on the other parts, because we do still need to focus on them as well before we go into next year. We're going to get a new ATR period in just 6 days. But yeah, we're heading into Italy and Monza. Before that, as our team hub upgrade now is finalized and up to level 5. But yeah, I did forget a little bit here about the pit crew, so I'm easily distracted is probably the best way to put it. We're going to be well rested. This is about 2% higher than anticipated, or 1% I think. I think it was 6 or 5. So we're still fine. Just switching a couple of components, and we're going to go ahead with our team hub now at maximum level to head into Monza, and we might also start doing a couple of upgrades there, as we now have almost 40 million in the bank. But yeah, let's see how we do in Italy first. So, bit of a mistake on my part. We're not going directly into the race. We're first taking a look at the pit crew training, as we actually did take over the month here, 1st September, before we go to Italy. As you can see, we set up the pit crew training here for this month, and we're basically just going to keep it where it is, with a chance of mistake being basically not changed at all. I think we could put it on the wheel gun, or as you can see any of the others here. That will lower the chance, but we'd lose a little bit of development in other places, and for now we're just going to, well, I think keep it balanced would be the best idea, really. So we'll do this, that way we don't really lose much other than the car release, which we'll have to focus on at some point, but that should be okay. And the car building kept where it is, the pit stop times kept where it is, and we don't go over the fatigue limit as well, so we are very, very happy with that. But with that out of the way, we can finally go to Italy. So unfortunately in Monza, it's going to be a race where we don't score any points. Albon is going to get 8th, Norris 9th, and Hulkenberg 10th. Which is going to be a little bit negative for us, honestly, but it's not a lot of points. We just end up getting too held up by the DRS train of Norris and Hulkenberg, and we just couldn't get past them, and that resulted in us just unable to score points there, unfortunately. So with that, in the Constructors, 4 points to Williams. We still have 60 points to go on, and with the race remaining, we should still be fairly safe. Now, with that said, we are going to do, I think, one more race today. We are kind of running out of time. This is taking, again, almost a week at this point to get just the recordings for. So, probably spend a little bit too much time. But that is what it is. ATR does start today. We can skip a sponsorable obligation. We're going to go ahead and deny it, because we're going to have to, you know, get it back anyways at one point. So, denying it is just the easiest way to do it. Place the suspension and manufacture a new one, pretty straightforward. And we are going to have to negotiate the contracts here. And as I said, we might end up kidnapping the Ferrari boys. they are interested, so let me know what you think about that. But we have Singapore in just a couple of weeks here, and before that, we're going to get a couple of research projects done, so let's just get that out of the way first. First one, the rear wing. Second one, the underfloor. And the question now becomes, what do we do with our CFD time? Because we did have more CFD time. Do we invest in, say, the underfloor? Is there any real point in that? It is getting up there, but we could potentially do something like this. Where we do one more investment into the underfloor before we go into the next season. But the thing with this is that we are going to invest CFD time into the underfloor next season anyways at the start, so would it be more beneficial to do something else? And honestly, I do think it would be more beneficial to do front wing, rather front wing probably, not really rear wing. So I think we're going to hold off on that and just do, as I said, probably doing rear wing here and just focusing cornering could be a good idea. So we're just going to take a quick look at what we can expect, basically, if we do this. And already it looks like we're going to get a decent amount of drag reduction and DRS delta already. So what I would do if I do CFD for the rear wing would be something like this. And this would actually be a fairly sizable gain, both in terms of DRS effectiveness, turn top speed. So I think we might actually do this, and then, as I said, the next CFD period goes into the front wing instead. I think that might actually benefit us more in the long run, because top speed is one of the things we lack. Getting better DRS effectiveness going into next season would be great as well. So we're just going to do it like this. It's a little bit laced, a little bit boring, but it's going to get the job done, and that is the important part. The other thing that we want to focus on here is probably our chassis, because as you can see here, it's going to be absolutely, you know, terrible next year. So we do need to keep just one slot on the chassis solely, I think. And that is what we're going to be doing here. And let's face it, the chassis isn't that far behind the rest of the car. So we'll have to see if we do want to keep a slot open for the entirety of the season, or if we do a couple of chassis projects and then do something else at the end. It depends, we'll have to see. In terms of CFD periods here, we are currently in the 5th period. We have 6 periods, which means that we are going to get one more, I believe. ATR period 6 begins. And that is going to be, as you can see, the final ATR period. So I think front wing is going to be what we do then for the final one. But I'm happy with putting the current one into the rear wing. That shouldn't be a big deal. Now, we do have another regulation vote, financial changes, more prize money for the top teams, less for the bottom, and we're going to vote against that on principle. It would actually hurt us slightly, but even then, it's not going to matter much. It would actually benefit us because we're most likely going to finish higher than 5th next season. So, I don't think it's going to be a big deal, even if it does go through. Okay, so we're going to be a little bit careful here. One car in Q3, both cars within the top 15. That's what we can be happy with. And Singapore is going to be today's last race. Let's see if it goes well for us. So before we go into the Singapore Grand Prix here, we're going to go ahead and change out some of our car parts as we have damaged ERSs on both cars. Which means that this time around we're going to be eating a bit of a penalty. It's just going to be how things are. And we're also going to be installing a new gearbox on Ocon's car. Now, Singapore is probably not the best place to do this, but we are going to have to eat a penalty at one point, and we're just going to get both cars done with it here. And as I did mention, we might need to get an engine and maybe even a gearbox penalty later on. But for now, this should be just about fine. And we're now ready to jump into qualifying. Let's see what we can do here. But this is probably going to be a bit of a write-off race due to the fact that we are, again, going to eat a bit of a penalty. We're getting very closer to the end of the race, and when we did eat penalties, that put us down to 13th and 16th. We haven't really been able to improve too much here, although Ocon is not too far off the points there, just 5 seconds, 6 seconds, 7 seconds behind Magnussen. Gasly has not had a good time, gotten stuck. We tried a couple of different strategies. But yeah, unfortunately here, just not been able to get up into a point scoring position, as Ocon here now launches an attack and gets past Albon. Even then, with the final lap now upon us, and us being lapped, which means that this is actually our final lap. We're not getting Magnussen, and unfortunately with that, not really getting any points here. But there's been no safety cars, nothing, virtual safety car, very few yellow flags even from people locking up. So no real surprises here in terms of the points. Norris and Magnussen are the 2-point scorers of, well, the teams that we are fighting. So let's be perfectly honest, not really a terrible result. We have gotten the penalty out of the way. And a couple points for McLaren and a point for Haas is not going to turn things upside down. Now, since we're ending the episode here, I thought we'd go quickly through the drivers and constructors standings. And as you can see, and not really a surprise, Verstappen is leading, but Perez is actually fairly close here. Same can actually be said for Leclerc, so if Verstappen has a couple of bad races, we might see a little bit of an upset. But we have Red Bulls firmly in the lead, then we have the Ferraris, then we have Aston, then we have the Mercs, then we have ourselves. So yeah, not really any surprises in the top 5, honestly. And with that, as I mentioned here, we are going to be ending today's path. It's just gonna have to be how things are with, well, just how much has been happening. And honestly, I do feel more comfortable splitting seasons up into 3, as there are still things that do happen. There's still somewhat interesting races, but we are definitely going to be finishing off the first season of the Maximum Weight Challenge next time around. So look forward to that. And again, apologies for taking me a couple of weeks now to get this video out. It's just been life has been a bit busy. Motivation hasn't been on top, unfortunately. As I said earlier, did kind of it was disappointing to not be considered for the early release of you know, the team showcase, make a team showcase, but it is what it is. I'm probably still just a little bit too tiny for that. But yeah, I'll be ready at least when the game releases on the 23rd, and we'll be streaming like I did last year. So we're probably gonna make a team then, and have a little bit of fun with that. But thank you very much for watching this episode. I hope you've enjoyed, and I do hope to see you next time. If you have, please like, subscribe if you haven't already, as that helps me out a ton. And I'll see you around next time around. Bye bye.